Today I'm going to show you how I built the KR Knight OWK2 using their Eco Chassis DIY kit. And surprisingly, it's also the first time I've ever used the Verso soundboard, so that'll be fun. Anyways, as always, make sure to like and subscribe, and if you're interested in commissioning a lightsaber build from me, feel free to contact me through my website, averycastillo.com. Let's unbox Obi-Wan's lightsaber from Attack of the Clones. You might not know this, but there are actually differences between Obi-Wan's Episode 1 and Episode 2 lightsaber. Once we get this thing opened up, I'll try my best to go over them. This must be for our install parts. And here we have our lightsaber box. Alright, so this hilt is called the Knight OWK2, made by the Saber Armory. Here's their company challenge coin. And now, what we've all been waiting for, the lightsaber itself. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, there are three main differences between this hilt and the Episode 1 version. As you can see, the whole thing is chrome. Episode 1 is brushed. Next, in this version, the pommel cubes don't have holes in them. And lastly, the brass greebly button is smooth rather than knurled, and doesn't have a purple gemstone in it. Now let's open up the box for the install parts and go over what we have. First up, we actually have a two-part chassis. This section will be what holds the battery and speaker. Here's the second chassis piece, which holds the soundboard, buttons, and NeoPixel connector. Now for what goes into the chassis, we have these two battery tabs. And of course, we need the NeoPixel connector. This one is the Eco version with an Eco lens cover. Next, we have the kill switch, the buttons, and the soundboard. This is the Verso soundboard, which is made by the Saber Armory themselves. It's a nice, cheap NeoPixel soundboard option. For sound, we have a 28mm bass speaker, which, surprisingly, we got two of. Cal, the owner, sent an 8-ohm version for free because it's better for Verso boards. What incredible customer service. So what better way to start this install than with the speaker? Unfortunately, I learned this later, but this particular speaker didn't end up fitting in the chassis. The drum sat a bit lower than the 4-ohm speaker, which made the speaker stick out too much. So in the end, I had to go back and swap it with the 4-ohm version, which fit perfectly. If you end up following this to make your own, keep that in mind if you're using Verso. It might be best to use Profi or CFX for this particular build. Anyways, right after that, I moved on to the negative battery tab. And instead of going to the positive tab, I decided to work on the NeoPixel connector. One positive for the board, one for the kill switch, two negatives for the board, and a single data. Fits perfectly. Now since the buttons and kill switch are pretty simple, I want to talk about the chassis. This build is super small and requires a lot of wire management. Cram foo, as I've heard it before. So it's important to cut off any unnecessary solder legs, keep your wires at the right length, and most importantly, install the top and bottom chassis parts separately. I'll tell you more once we get to that point. But for now, we finally get to the positive battery tab. To keep wiring to a minimum, I attached it directly to the kill switch. Now, it's time to install the Verso soundboard. This was actually pretty exciting for me since I've never worked with one before. I kept checking the manual to make sure I had things right, but luckily it's pretty straightforward. And now, we have our super tiny setup for the top of our lightsaber. Okay, so like I said before, it's important that you install the top and bottom chassis separately from each other. This is because you'll need to insert the top chassis through the emitter and the bottom chassis through the pommel area. Once the two are installed in the hilt, you then have to carefully cut the wires to size and connect them to each other. It can be pretty tricky, but it's manageable with patience. Once that's done, you can make sure everything is secure. I did have to add some E6000 to prevent the battery chassis from wobbling, so that's something else to take note of. Now let's make some final quality of life changes. Since the screw holding the CoverTech knob also is what you take out to access the battery and soundboard, if you glue it to the CoverTech knob, you can now just unscrew the thing by hand. And here's how easy it is. And just like that, we have access to everything. Quick and easy, no extra tools needed. Let's finish off this project by fixing one of the buttons. For whatever reason, this red button doesn't reach far enough into the hilt to press the chassis switch. So I went ahead and 3D printed some small washers to solve the problem. Basically, I sanded one of these down so it's just the right height to add some extra space between the top of the red button and the plunger assembly that gets pushed into the hilt. And once it's screwed in, we can now press the chassis button. With that, we've now completed Obi-Wan's Attack of the Clones lightsaber. I spent some time off camera setting up this SD card, so everything should work perfectly now. Let's put in the battery and see if it works. Not bad at all. Let's go ahead and put the blade in now. It's got a good package of fonts, colors, and animations, so hopefully it all comes out well. So far, so good.
Master Kenobi, you disappoint me.
Alright, I think that came out great. And that is how I built the OWK2, Obi-Wan's Episode 2 lightsaber. For this being my first experience with Verso, I gotta say it's pretty great. It's basically a simplified and super cost-saving CFX. It'd be a great board for someone just getting into lightsaber building or someone who just wants a cheap, NeoPixel-capable lightsaber. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful, and if you ever have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or send me a message. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.